advocates for integrating customary authority into environmental governance. Let's appreciate Nana once again. Thank you so much. Professor Rachel Kofi Esielu is joining our panel. Prof, please let's have you up here. He is a distinguished Guinean scholar. Prof, we have you here first. Professor Esielu. Okay, all right. Looks like Prof has stepped out for a bit. Yeah, he's a political strategist as well, chief executive officer of the Andrews Groups of schools and companies. So if he was here, we definitely will be getting a lot from him. Honorable Dr. O'Neill Ekokwenu, who's MP for Ikunzi, has left also. Nana Okofu-Jesi the fifth. Nana Okofu-Jesi the fifth. Has also stepped out for a bit. Okay, Professor Emmanuel Bamfoy J. Prof, who gave us a very insightful presentation earlier on. Let's welcome Prof back up here. He's an associate professor and he's at Technical University with a PhD in engineering management science as a visiting professor and research fellow across institutions in Ghana, South Africa, and Zambia. And he felt a bit of that experience from his traveling worldwide. Finally, Nana Apakwachi the seventh is joining the panel. Nana is the chairman of the Planning Committee of the Education and Lifelong Learning Conference 2025. Nana Apakwachi the seventh joining the Power Pact panel. Thank you so much. Mr. Addison, your panel is ready for you. And this will be 20 minutes.
This one is shaded, so they can move to this area.
Thank you very much.
This one is shaded.
I want to start with this statement. When I look at the hospitality,
For me, I'm okay.
when you look at the rich culture of our traditional rulers, if we can extend this hospitality toward the environment, there wouldn't be any issue. If you believe in that, put your hands together. Good, thank you very much. So I will start with Prof, as you are very close to me. Good. So, Prof, I saw your presentation, very powerful presentation, with a lot of illustrations. But I want you to take the audience through this. How can educational initiatives be tailored to address the specific culture and ecological context of local communities, ensuring that both traditional knowledge and modern sustainability practices are integrated?
Thank you very much. Very important that as educationists, we all have a critical role to play when it comes to making sure that sustainability is adhered right at the lower level, and starting from our children, not even from the tertiary level, but we start educating them from when even they are in their wombs of their mothers. Because that is where the training starts. You don't wait when you give birth before you start training. There have been instances where research has concluded that a pregnant woman who does certain things, that child, when that child is born, the child starts eating what the mother was doing, either singing or doing something else. That is how the child has done. So education starts from that infancy level. Two, we need to localize, let's say, ICDs. We have ICD schools. And one of my former lecturers at University, an architect from Dallas-Upon, has been able to localize the SDG in our local salon. And he was able to draw the link between the current SDG, for example, an SDG that deals with issues issues about sanitation. There is a sign in the local parlance that looks like they are fake. I think, in fact, none of it. That's the code. There is a symbol in that area among the local symbol that relates to sanitation. So even our forefathers knew that sanitation was very important. So that's why when you go to the village, in our rural community, you see that our mothers, they will sweep the compound every morning, and the place looks so neat. I was just eating, and on our table, a gentleman ate and left, and air blew the container off. And we said that we are just attending the conference, and we are not applying what we are hearing here. We need to do what we have been taught so that we practice it. So importantly, our education needs to be tailored to solve these issues regarding environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I will move to, I will jump now, come back to I move to my next panelist. Thank you. I want you to educate us, right, by providing examples of a successful educational programs known to you that you think are tangible changes in the language practice.
Okay.
Examples that would be easy.
Okay, so thank you. At Eclectic Love, some of the things that we actually do are we go into the school systems and we partner with the students there. And while we do that, we also move into the communities to do activities like school farms. So teach them about farming, teach them about the environment, and then we also partner with EPA and these types of activities. Alongside that, we also go to the churches and do activities in the church to teach them about the segregation of the waste, and then things of aligning with, as he was saying, the SDGs. But one thing that I really try to put emphasis on in some of these programs is making sure that it's in the local dialect. So in Volta, we have different institutions there. We have some of the teachers that work with us to help do translation of some of the activities so that the students understand it, but also when we go into the communities, the women and the traditional leaders are also able to understand it as well. So these are some of the things that we do.
Good. I will now come to Nana. She has given us some tangible examples of successful projects that can have good impact on government sustainability. I want you to take us to some of the traditional practices that you think when it is incorporated into education, it could be a building block for a very good graduate issue.
Okay, thanks so much. Yes, what I know in our taboo system, customary law and culture and practices that needs to be incorporated is the way traditionally we revere the environment. We revere the things that give us sustainability, the rivers, the sea, the forest, the land itself. These were revered and revered traditionally because we know without them we couldn't have settled wherever we are currently settled. Today, if you ask any of us in this room to relocate anywhere, the first thing probably they ask of is there electricity? Is there running water? Is there internet? Is that not true? But centuries ago, over 1,000 years ago, when the Akan migration occurred from, North Africa down to, Techiman, Mali, Techiman, and then where we are currently. Those days, in their migration, they were also looking out for things that will sustain their lives. And those days, the sustenance was not dependent on electricity, pipe water, and fast internet. The most important thing they would look out for was water bodies, fresh water bodies. So practically you realize that the migration, almost all the settlements were along fresh water bodies, the rivers, all. Because without water, you will not be able to live. Without the forest, without fertile land, without the sea, without all the things that are in our nature. That is why anytime they settle at a particular place, all these things that made them decide that they will settle there, they revere them. They consider that as God. God, because He gave a fresh water body, you can't do anything. Yes, so if they revere them, consider them as deity, thank them by performing certain rituals, they were appreciating them for being there and continuing to provide them with sustenance. So, if centuries ago, our people revered the things within our environment such that they taught everybody, the moment you enter into a community to settle, they teach you all the customary laws. Maybe female who are within a certain time of the month don't have to go to the river. Some of us may think they were being fetish and all that. But those days, we didn't have the improved, stuff that we have today. So the moment you enter the water that everybody depends on to drink, to cook, and all that, you pollute the water. So they say, don't go. It is an abomination. They may not have the time to explain to you that because when you go, you stain the water, so don't go. They simply say, when it is that time of the night, don't go to the river. How is this bad? Is this bad? No. They say the trees along the river, the water bodies, don't cut them because they provide shade for the river, such that anytime you go there, the water is so cold and it's so refreshing to drink of them. Is this bad? There is a whole land for everybody to farm in and fetch whatever they want to farm from it, but they present a certain one over somewhere called Nananumpo or Mosompo. That is forest reserve, a way of preserving it, preserving the ecosystem, so that all the organisms in it will feel free whilst you are, enjoying the harvest. So that when one day you are sick and they tell you to go and look for a certain leaf, a certain branch, even if you can't find it anywhere, when you enter that sacred forest, it will be there. And there's not any spirit that has kept it there, but it is common sense. Don't go there. So everything there is being preserved. But a time came, we had some people coming from the other side of the world seeking to control our people, take control from the traditional leaders and control the people themselves, said, oh, these are fetish practices and all that. When you say they are fetish practices and you're able to turn the people's hearts from the chiefs and whatever they are doing to preserve them, people begin to ignore their rules, go in there and dissipate the forest. So we destroy all these valuable things, and then later when they realize that they've done something bad to the environment, they decided that they will by law or through decrees do the same thing traditionally being done, like designate certain forests as forest reserves. Have they not gone a full circle? I am the chief. I say, okay, this is my land, you can cultivate it. This particular one, don't go there. You tell me it is fetish. Ignore him. Go and dissipate it. Then later, through the central administration, central government, you yourself, you designate forests and say these are forest reserves. You understand? You think you are, sabotaging or underrating the chiefs. But then, now the fear people have for what the chief have said to preserve the land and the forest is no more there. So when the government signs laws and say that this is forest reserve, so don't go there. There's something you told them already that these are lies. When I go, nothing will happen to me. This is the reason they are now doing that, say, in forest reserves.
Wow. I think meet Nana tomorrow, right? Because the personal assistant of Nana, I want to urge Nana to come up with a book, what they meant, what they said. Right? What our people said at that time, what is the actual meaning? To what extent can we modernize this and make sure we have the impact? And I think I will reserve you from here. I will come back again, but let me move to Nana again. Nana, I want you to help us with this. How can technology, such as the online platforms and mobile applications, be leveraged to enhance education and information dissemination? Was looking at the digital world now. To what extent can these platforms help us to make sure that the knowledge, awareness creation in area of climate issues are properly done?
Thank you. Let me establish the concept of mobile phones and technologies here. In Africa, the 5% among the 5% of countries, Ghana is among them in terms of mobile phones usage per population. Even more than Nigeria, per population, Ghana is waiting. Now, if you buy what we call a yam for your grandmother, I said, I want the one who can know WhatsApp. Yeah. If I can read, you can send me photos and everything. So they are there. So when people were even using yam, as we call it, the simple one, they say, no, they don't want it. In so doing, in most rural or traditional areas, let me use the Kofi. I've got like around 58 times. And most of the platforms we do, most of the management systems are all through WhatsApp platforms. Chiefs, chiefs here, in towns, they are there, among the youth groups, they are there, among the churches. So the face-to-face thing is being reduced. So by that establishment, which means that using the mobile technology is simple, which means that we can develop content and other teaching methods that is culturally sensitive and relevant, that will do. So we don't have a problem at all. So now we don't call it a place rural area. No. It may be a little struggle with the networking, but they will tell you if you put a stand by that tree there, you get it. If you climb a little higher, you get it. But even now it's growing. So gradually we are getting used, getting hooked up to the urban system of communication. So by that doing, it means then educational institutions and civil society can develop programs, quizzes, jingles that we put on all these things. And we are doing it now. We are doing it now. Confession, they can do the festival. I do not cry. And somebody, my uncle sent me the jingle through WhatsApp. So we have the facility, we have the gadgets, the networking is improving, and I think that can be used both in the formal system in the school. So we can both use it in the formal system and the non-formal systems. So the question that we are addressing is that we need the contents to be developed. And the contents are developed and shared among the social groups, church groups, family groups, chiefs, elders, then that can be done. So I think that can be done easily. That's the problem. But all we need is to make it exciting.
I love the bit that the man is trying to drive at. He's talking about the customization of
Yes, let's customize it to suit their interests.
So we don't leave anybody out.
Because people check their WhatsApp messages, check their phones 10 times, 15 times a day. What is it? Create the level of things. Yes. And what happened also was when the COVID. The COVID also enhanced the use of that. Because of the COVID, we were not able to congregate in large numbers. Churches were using it, groups were using it. Even among siblings, they were using it. So you can chat with the schools that are in the rural, also to the groups in the rural area. So I think these are the issues that we think that. So we have a facility, we have an opportunity, let's use it.
Good. And I think the time is now. The awareness creation. I'm sure that everybody here who is into that advocacy should be able to now customize. Don't leave everybody out. Make sure that you get it. This is my last question. I'm going to give each and everyone from 2 minutes to look at that. And the reason is that it talks about challenges. What are some of the challenges faced by educational initiatives in promoting sustainable land use? And how can these challenges overcome to ensure that we win this battle? Rob, since you are close to me again.
So, some of the challenges that can be observed will be with regulators. So, for example, let's use the university. If you want to come up with a program, there are certain requirements that you need to fulfill. So I recall when I was the then head of department for the Department for Environmental Management and Technology, we came out with a program. And some of the requirements that we came out with was that one, with the university, before your program is approved, the human resource should have PhD. That was one of the requirements. So assuming that you have developed a program, you want to start it, then you don't have that requirement, that fulfillment of PhD holders, let's say 4 of them, then you can't run the program. Then another issue again was regarding the model of running this program. Usually in our own area, general language is English. So, but when you compare other countries where they use their indigenous language to teach, that is missing in Ghana. And the students might be instructing the students with English, that the student is not apprehending what we are saying. And instead of us to also break it down in their local dialect, we also discourage them from speaking the local dialect. And this even is seen in our basic school, where our children in kindergarten are supposed to be instructed with the Ghanaian language. We rather want to let them speak English at home, speak English at school, and speaking at home local dialect becomes a problem. And because of that, the knowledge is not being carried at that level. People don't understand what it takes, doing certain disciplines when related to environment. So I think we need a policy direction in terms of the language mode of instruction. That is true. Then the third point that I've also observed is that ideally, the technical university that I speak for, the mandate is that before you start teaching, you should have industrial experience. If you are doing something on land management or environment, you should have worked in that space, so that whatever you are coming to instruct or teach the students, you understand that concept. Or you also invite people from the industry to come and from time to time to share some thoughts with them. And the challenge here now is that because of there's high premium on PhD. If you don't have PhD, you are not a lecturer at the university. Then somebody might have experience in the industry, 30 years, 20 years in environment issue, sanitation, waste management, and those things. But because you don't have a PhD, he's not qualified to teach. And that is a problem that we are facing in terms of that transformative agenda that we need. So I think there's a need for us to shift from that paradigm area. Let us observe what other people are doing, like China, Germany. Those people are relying on industry-based knowledge. So that when students are trained from the university and they are looking for a job, the industry players know that they cannot fit. They have to now take another time to train ourselves, which is a failure on our part. So I think there should be that particular change. And this
So I believe that the way we are able to religion teaches us, even Christian religion teaches us to revere the environment, to revere nature. Sometimes you see some descriptions in the background, and then all you enjoy is the pictures of the animals and plants, animals are journeying together. And then finally, they tell you that this is the work of the Supreme Being. And as we admire and appreciate it, it should develop, it will help with the development of the love we have for the Creator, that is God. So they have their side, let them continue. And then we should also stop demonizing our traditional leadership system, such that we can also encourage indigenous knowledge and approach in teaching. So sometimes in trying to mold the brains of children, it is not bad as China and Germany have set an example. Sometimes involve religious leaders, traditional leaders, who may not necessarily have the PhDs, but have the knowledge raw to help to mold the thinking of these children, so that they hear it from the teacher, they hear it from the religious leaders, they hear it from traditional leaders, and they see from all perspectives they need to preserve and protect the things around us, so that we can get the best from it and also be able to pass it on to the future generation.
I think you put your hands together for them. Very well.
So the challenges that I usually see are one
transitions to the English. Yet a lot of the schools now, they don't teach in the local dialect, they teach in the English, which is not a problem. But whenever we go into the rural communities, they're still being taught in the local dialect. So then when you have to go and you speak in the English, they don't understand it. Then you have to do the translation. But whenever a lot of the curriculums and things that are coming out of the education system is in English. So now you have a disconnect, especially whenever the child is now going into the home to try to explain it to their parents so that they have an understanding of it, whatever they've been taught in the school system, especially when it comes to their environment, and they don't get it. So dialect is one. And then he was speaking about the mobilization. Now, in the rural communities that I go into, it's so-called rural communities. However, they have access to the mobile phones and things, yet they don't know the proper way to use them. And whenever they're using them, they only have an idea of it. And the idea is not correct because they're using it wrongly. They get on social media, they're not actually, looking at some of the things that would actually be beneficial to them. So I think that whenever we go into the communities and they do have these mobile phones and things, especially in relation to education and environment, we have to be creating a space for them to learn more and have an understanding of exactly what it is that they're using and how to go about using it. I know that in some of the communities, we actually do tech programs with the students. And when we ask them if they can bring the smartphone to come and learn, they bring it all right, but they don't know what to do with it. So we teach them some of the things like, we do programs as far as like for a week. They learn all the coding, they learn programming, they learn different things as far as the environment. But then they then have to take it and create an app or something to utilize that. And whenever it comes to using that knowledge, there's a disconnect. So I think that understanding mobilization, understanding what technology is in some of our rural communities is a challenge. And then also being able to utilize our local dialects for a better understanding is also another one.
That's also that.
Good point. I see that sometimes the environmental publications and systems and practices are not inclusive. Sometimes some chiefs paying tax, they are left in the dark, so that when you don't know the law, when you don't understand the system, you can't complain. And therefore, you are bulldozed by people, by corporate bodies, and sometimes what is it there? It's civil society who sometimes put the gap between governments, the non-stakeholders, put the gap between government and communities. And now the funding is drying because we have become a middle income country. Because I do the NGO, consultants for 20 years. Funding is not coming anymore. And therefore, we cannot educate the communities. So there's a lot of communities there. We also established here this morning that there's insufficient political will, which is tied to the lack of inclusivity. Yeah. It's also harming the societies. So I think these are the key points. So collaboration, partnership, inclusivity, these are key points, and also respect. Respect. Because nowadays, if you come to the chiefs that we are, 80% are educated. Graduates. People still have the misconceptions. And when you put on the cloth, I went somewhere, when I put on the cloth and now, you want the before you spoke the talk, but you give it because they're still far away in some 18th century mentality. So then, you have somebody come from civil society, they come in there, and they form groups and whatever there, and they are imposing their ideas on you, and not knowing that it's somebody mentioned the capable investment, or we know. So when people say, hey, bro, you are here, like, yes, because saying. So inclusivity, all those things that would do. So I think the speaker for today, they've said it all.
Yeah.
The legal education, the respect, these are the challenges we are facing. And sometimes the lack of knowledge from the EPA and from the Minerals Commission. Just one quick example. 5 years into the confidence, we were there when we find 5 groups of people entering into our forests for lithium. Come for lithium, enter to our forest. And then I want your money. And now they're all there. Let's record them. So we dropped them and said, who are you? I said, we have a certificate from Minerals Commission. Bring them to the panel, let's interrogate them. And they were found, they went out of 5, 4 went and they come back. So these are some of the things that we are facing because of the perception they are. And I think gradual education and also collaboration will help us to bring for this.
Wow. So I would say yes, for the last of time, I will take probably 3 questions, and I'm going to raise your hand right there. I will give you the opportunity to speak, but when it comes to technology and dissemination of information, I guess it is very close to me to IK. Technology is giving us that leverage, and if we bounce on it, we'll be able to do a good job. Let me pick yours, and then, then one gentleman, okay, and then one lady, good. Let's see.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Yala Samoa from the Institute of Education, and I'd like to acknowledge the organizers of this program. Very, very timely. I'm saying it's very timely because of the link between the 2 entities, talking about traditional system planning system and also our environment. And that is where I want to acknowledge the powerful system that we have as people. This came to my attention when I was doing my PhD, and at the recommendation section, I was looking at climate change, water conflict, and human security in the local area of land to see whether there's any interplay between the ending conflict in the local and maybe whether the environment in terms of the dryness in the area could result in conflict. That was the case actually. But if tomorrow I look up and there is a conflict in the local area resulting out of water, I will not be surprised because it was something that was coming up. But one thing that came up was that any time in the rural areas there was any issue about water conflict or was the chief. And so it became one of my recommendations that moving into that which I started. So I revered the role of chiefs in environmental management. As much as the chiefs or the traditional system is working so hard all of these things are fetish. Whereas maybe there are so much of fetish doings in the Bible as we see. So maybe in the future we have to also bring the clergy on board. Yes, there are also verses in the Bible that talk about how environment ought to be kept. But we forget the power of our traditional system, the knowledge that they possess. You know, just recently we are now in the end of this month or early this month to do a dissemination on a grant that we won to know the knowledge level of fishermen in our sea and how they manage the sea. And they will tell you that maybe there is somebody dead on the sea. That is why the sea is behaving this way. Let's give ourselves about a day or two. If no body is washed ashore, then we'll know that there's another cause. And lo and behold, in a day or two, there will be a dead body washed ashore to tell that this is. So how do they know this? Whether it is fetish or not, I don't care. But what I care about is that it is worth of that education. Meanwhile, we have the United Nations, UNESCO, and all those people now acknowledging the work of traditional knowledge. We have links by UNESCO. We have trade by UN. All 2030 up to 2030 is the decade of indigenous knowledge system by the United Nations. You see, so they go around and come to tell us that now it is working. So why don't we protect that which we have? And then we think that everything coming from the white, everything coming from the Bible is rather the best, and that we should push away everything that we have. So let's make those calls.
Let's appreciate God. Okay, let me go to the lady. So God's own is a contribution, not a person. What's your own? Let's see.
A little bit of a contribution and question. My name is Dr. Shelton from the University of Ghana. So in 2023, I presented a paper about the mining areas.
Let's say you.
Okay, is it okay now? So in 2023, I presented a paper about the mining areas, and the main premise of that paper was about how the youth, right? They believe in the cause of the rivers, but they were still polluting the rivers. And when we went to the site, the main issue was that they still revere the water bodies. They still believe, they didn't sometimes curse people with the river bodies. But the issue was about their economic freedom. So their economic freedom overrode their need to revere the spiritual aspect of the water bodies. So they didn't care, they didn't acknowledge that they were spiritual, but they didn't acknowledge that they had to revere where the gods reside, but they needed to make money. That was why they were engaging Galamsey. So the main question now is, how do you reconcile these two? Because it doesn't mean that they don't respect the chiefs or the traditional system, but they don't care about that because they need to make money, they need to feed their family. So what system can we put in place so that their economic surety is assured, whereas the
Thank you very much. You pick that of the gentleman there. The panelists will speak to it. Let's do.
Thank you so much. And this also insightful. Goodness is from the Niger Delta of Nigeria.
Please appreciate it.
Thank you so much. So we are talking about the role of education and empowering communities for sustainable land use. From my region, we are the oil regions in Nigeria, and we have these fossil fuel companies that have come in to carry out their drilling on the sun so as to make money, profit. And this has a kind of collaboration with the government and then the communities as well in that region, that's in Nigeria. And now in a case where you get to speak up to say, you are polluting our environment, our water body, where farmers can no longer fish, fishermen cannot fish, and farmers cannot farm again because of oil pollution. And then we that have this knowledge about climate change and the environment, we try to speak up, but people get to say, your community leaders have collected money from these companies, and the government too have also collaborated with these companies. So what are you now looking for? But we need to, pass on this knowledge to this community, but they also have been affected. Now, in this case, how do you go about this education for sustainable land use? Thanks.
Thank you very much. I think we can look at it in the next 3 minutes. And then of you can speak. Let's start.
Hello. I think from your part of the question, there was the last speaker. It is about why with all the laws, people are still being so emboldened to go there. If you go to a place like Osino and about 4 towns, they are taking on the people's houses. All day night. And you ask yourself, are there law in this country? And there are 2 things that I'm saying. One is the practical one. If you don't take it, then there's a problem. Then also the complicity of chiefs. That's what he's saying. We can't absorb ourselves from it. There are people, there are chiefs who will sell the land, who will sell the wetlands, who do this. And then by the time, and they have no idea about it. So I think these 2 also we should address it properly. The side of the chiefs, honesty, training, and making sure they're not complicit, and also making sure putting pressure on government that they should catch it. I think that the minister for the EEPL or whatever we can, the one who came to the mining, the last person about mining, that yes, that it's a sensitive area, whatever it is. Political parties will come and go. They will say, killing Galamsey could be difficult. So until we have a political one, we don't have. Then also the chiefs being honest.
Okay, yeah, with this topic, we have discussed it elsewhere. And people also question that, okay, if there was a God in this river, why did the God allow this hope to be destroyed? You know, when the God strikes you, and you don't get any spiritual person, those are fetish spirits and go to tell you whatever you are facing. It is because of this and this that you did in this river or this forest. How will you know? You understand? You wouldn't know. Those were the days when, not those in my community. And there are times when, the spirits would. I should tell you that I believe in my tradition, but I'm a Methodist. I'm a baptized and confirmed Methodist. But I don't belittle any religion because I believe that is the only way we can live in, peace and harmony. So I accept everybody's background, whether religion, socio-economic issues, anything. I believe in everybody. When you have a global mindset, that is what you do. So I don't say because I'm a Methodist, whoever is not a Methodist is bad, or because I'm a Christian, whoever is not a Christian is bad. There are times when issues happen in my community. There was a time where it happened death upon death upon death upon death. For us, if you are sick and you are dying, we only have to bury you. You see, until a spirit dwelled on somebody in Accra, that person was forced to come to the place to tell the story and told us that there is a certain Pushbai, the fancies know Pushbai. It's olden days military outpost. When you see Pushbai, it is a military outpost. Those days, that was how whenever a community was going to war or was being attacked, the youth were organized around it to respond. There is a tree in it, and annually we cut it off. But due to the COVID those days, festivals were put on hold. So cutting the tree was part of the festival, the rituals. So because there was no festival, we were all eating and drinking and sleeping, thinking that we should wait for the next festival to cut it. They said to tell us that all those deaths were happening because we have refused to prune that tree. Yes, I organized my people who are in charge to go and prune it, and immediately. So if you're a Christian, Muslim, or whatever, and you think those spirits don't exist, you do so at your own risk. You see, when you go to these things are happening. People are destroying rivers, cutting trees that are supposed to be deities. You understand? People are doing anything they want because some also evangelists have told them that there's nothing in it, it's a lie, they are taking their money and all that, so they are imposing them to go on the rampage and then destroy these things. The effects on them, they are real, but they don't even know. They don't have anybody to tell them. Why is it that in the mining areas where these things are happening, when you go to the psychiatric hospitals, if you like, check. You go to Anchorford, which is close to where I am. The nurses who are not spiritualists, they will tell you that the cases that they are receiving, about 80% or more are from the mining areas.
Wow.
Forget the spiritual aspect of it. Go and do your research. Go and do scientific research. And there are situations where scientists have discovered, kids being born with, some of their organs not being present and all that. Are they all scientific? There could be spiritual aspect of it. So if we are here and we have the opportunity to listen to these things, let us not challenge what we don't know or we don't believe because somebody said we shouldn't believe. The waters are supposed to be revered because without them we can't live. If there are customary rules, obey them. If we teach our children this and they grow with them, they will not be told to go and destroy water bodies and forests and say, some supreme being, you protect me, so this one is nothing. When you go mad, you will not even get somebody to tell you that if you want to destroy this thing.
On this note, I don't know, Bob, you want to say, good. So, on this note, doctor, I think there's a gap, right? The people don't believe, but they were able to destroy the water. Yes, I know, but they still did it. So now the gap is that find out the number of people that are mad in the prison. Where are they coming from? On this note, we thank you very much. Let's appreciate us for the ceremony and taking most of your time. If you have two kids in your partner, there's nothing you can do. Okay. Photographer.
The numbers.
All right, thank you so much. Wow, that was beautiful. A round of applause. I've learned a lot from the discussion. Okay, so we move straight to the final panel discussion. We are moving straight to it because we are far behind time. So the topic is synergies between sustainable development goals and indigenous farming practices. And to help us with this, Mr. Delali Friedman, was Mr. Roland Apfel Money, Dr. Lee Fascinating, Dr. Sylvia Moore, and the moderator is Superstar Michaels. And again, we also talk on innovative solutions for sustainable urban expansion, learning from grassroots movements. And the panel members again have the role we received. Patrice Ann Robertson, Lauren Carter. Are you again? Is she back again? Oh, okay. Lawrence Champon, Honorable Echo Pale is gone already. And then the moderator, a school club. 20 minutes. 20 minutes, please. Thank you, Yanela.
So because of time, I have the privilege of telling two birds with one stone. So I'm taking the last two segments for discussions. So thank you very much, panelists, for being up here with me. And where I come from, I'm 40 and I'm a hunter from the Western region. What's it? Keshi Rosie as a bar. So I have the privilege of having all of you for the next two topics. But let's take a look at the first one. It's interesting where the previous panel left us. We have delved into indigenous ways of life that we had totally abolished. Even though, like, he took us back, they are very, very much important even today. So we'll take a look at the first one, which is how indigenous agricultural practices, such as mixed cropping and agroforestry, can advance the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. So we have two SDGs that we are focusing on. The SDG 2, which talks about zero hunger, and then we have the 13 that also speaks about climate change. Let me also say that coming from the Western region, I always tell people, especially when I'm on TV, I work with ATV, I'm a broadcast journalist. I tell people that my region is the only region that can stand on its own in the whole of the country because we have everything. But when I look at what's happening there now, the devastation that we're seeing from some activities like let's say, I don't know whether I should cry or I should still hold my head up high. My grandmother calls me from Apoa, where I come from, my community, and tells me to buy her plantains from Accra. And I've been telling people we have everything in the Western region, but this is a woman who's going to be 80 asking me to buy plantains from Accra because we're going to iron. And it's because of the devastation. So what are some of the sustainable agricultural practices that you can adopt or start putting into place that can help us achieve a zero hunger target? I'll start with Mr. Roland Apfel because he's my immediate past DJ president. So there, you take it up.
Thank you. We have something to come on Gelani, which is the best impression in the world. The food question is predicated on education. And education is one of our fundamental functions. How to educate, inform, hold to account people in positions of trust and power. And this element is also very important. Namely and shame and embarrassing people with authority. So we have a responsibility imposed by virtue of what we do as journalists to educate policymakers, educate consumers in media content, educate traditional rulers, educate communities, and the starting point is ourselves. Because of our ongoing pretensions, journalists portray themselves as people who know everything, but that is not true. So first of all, before we can educate effectively, educate meaningfully, we ought to educate ourselves. And one critical area we need to capacitate very well is the environment. Because the environment is everything. Our livelihoods, our everything is so dependent on the environment. But what do you see around? The depletion of forests with careless abandon, the pollution of our water bodies, all with the aim of feeding cats or reaping where we are consumed. So for us to educate meaningfully, we ought to rely on experts to deepen our understanding, give us nuanced understanding of how best we can safeguard our environment, how best we can protect it for posterity, how best we can expose wrongdoings, how best we can examine all the policy makers and demand corrective measures to ensure that our environment is protected for present generation and generating them from more. And in terms of education, we should go ahead and specialize. Specialization will give us that leverage, that special expertise to humanize technical issues as far as environmental governance is concerned. So once this is done, because many media houses are so financially disabled that they cannot establish specialized desks and ask people to operate from certain angles. So what we do is that support trades, where everybody is sent out to do reports on the environment, on sports, and meanwhile, the quality of the reportage is reflected in our shallow, in our follow, we feed our media consumers what to put out there. So apart from education, we should go ahead from educating and then update the education with personalization. And then those who can afford, and with the help of institutions, like my revered chief, like the ministry, the second ministry, like the government, will set up specialized manned by people who have been trained, so that they can report authoritatively, they can expose the perpetrators of environmental plunder, and then also hold government to account to ensure that our laws do not only write on paper, but our laws will be implemented to the letter to ensure that Ghana is on the ascendancy as far as environmental protection is concerned. We will summon the rules of history to look at the year 2000, look at the target dates for so many things. Food for all, shelter for all. But what do you see? We are now in the year of our Lord 2025. 2025. We have set so many goals. So apart from naming and shaming, we also want to hold
They know the man to harvest, they know the man to sell. This knowledge is already there. So it's not something new for them. So my data collection, I use a method called photo voice. So I get their camera. So they take pictures of what concern their life. So first African migration. So when they have food, when they farm, when they sell their crops, they told me stories about how they do their things. So it's already there. So as researchers or we those who possess the knowledge, let's now come together. Where do they go up to? Where can we progress it? That's what I think science, especially the Western science, we those who are now doing research, that's where I think we should continue the process from. In that capacity, we can build up their strength, and then what we are really on board to make society a progress. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Finally, before we move on to urbanization and come to Mr. Lawrence Achapon, Mr. Alberti has already mentioned a lot of things that we can do to sustain the already existing indigenous farming or agricultural practices. Would you like to add anything more before we move on? How to sustain these practices?
My name is Lawrence Achapon. I'm the Vice President for BASPAC. BASPAC is Business Advisory Service Providers Association of Ghana. And I also have an initiative that advocates for climate finance. And then I'm currently the head of business development to the National Education Authority. What I was supposed to talk about was not the agriculture, it was the community, talking about the community movement or
Solutions for urbanization?
No,
grassroots
movement.
Yes, that's it.
All right, so the grassroots movement, I think the farmers also come into play here. I first of all want to applaud the organizers for descending to this level of grassroots participation or grassroots movement. Because at this level, we've all seen the insights that we bring into this whole thing of climate finance. I would want to look at it from a slightly different perspective, not dwelling so much on what the systems can do for us. We look at all the problems that have been enumerated from morning till now, and what our brothers are also talking about in terms of what happens to our poor farmers. They are supposed to be rich, but unfortunately we call them poor farmers in our society. And there is one thing that I believe, that if I'm a farmer and a professor, regardless of whoever I am, if you look at how much this climate change has affected our world, and the billions of dollars and billions of cities that have gone into organizing such conferences and everything, and look at how systems are being put in place, and the problems still persist. I dare say that it's going to be worse, it's getting worse. Perhaps we should pause and say that all these solutions we are chasing after may not be out there in the systems and structures that we are looking for. Maybe we should come within ourselves, we should pause and say maybe the result or the solutions we are seeking for is within myself or within ourselves. So that if each of us decide to take responsibility
The previous panels were talking about how we are using the environment, balancing, and all. And we know how the farmers are also suffering in terms of climate change and hence we are going about child and all these. But if we should say that, okay, what can I, as an individual, do to affect these climate devastation that we are having? I believe we can get somewhere. So I have this belief that when I change, not just my world, but the world will change. The reason being that if I change, and you also change the way of doing your practices, and the next person does, he does, she does, collectively we will find positive results in all these problems we're talking about here. And one of the speakers also spoke about the fact that we should even broaden this conference and bring, I think we mentioned the priests and things like that. Okay, so we do that. We have to look at it from that perspective that, okay, all these solutions that have been championed over the years, look at the tensions going on around the world, world leaders are meeting, we have opportunity, convince, and all that. It's hard time, I believe, we look at the other angle of self-actualization or self-awareness, so that if we try to bring a lot of advocacy into the system, such that anything we do in our respective businesses, we think about sustainability. We do not depend on institutions, so that we keep the institutional dependence and then use our awareness of what we need to do. Yeah, I think we can get to.
Thank you very much, sir. Let's take a few contributions from the floor as well. So you can speak to indigenous agricultural practices and sustainable economy. You can also speak to urban expansion and what we can do, like key questions, such as I mentioned, what we can do as Ghanaians to help all the things that we are doing. Let's not forget that in our quest to expand our urban cities, there's flooding. Now they are perennial, so we expect them every year. Okay, please tell us.
Yeah, thank you. I'm from Omfi. Yeah, and we do farming and fishing. And as our time I was saying yesterday, the farmers were very unhappy because we got the money from my own time. And the rains stopped midway. Currently, the weather is very cold. Normally, we should expect more fish. The fish are also not coming. So clearly, what we are facing as a country, I will not about what is happening in other places. The climate change is really affecting us every. Last year, my brother was complaining that it was a mess. This year is a disaster. If what is going on keeps on, because the rains are not coming, and the crops that was going absolutely stopped, and they are burning out. So I'm wondering, our EPA man is gone. That why is it that family is living in a house, those people who pick the metals, they start picking a roofing, they pick one or two of them, and instead of making the right action to get the person arrested, they call a family meeting and discuss. So this man that is our roofing, how do we do our things? What are they telling me? So that I'm surprised that we seem to wish and pray our problems away instead of taking action. here again. Because what we are eating now into our body is poison. There are a lot of artificial foods in our organic markets. And the media, I'm surprised they are not here. Okay, the media is giving us the service. I'm a brother myself, right there, right there. Because if the politicians go and arrest the person who is doing the wrong thing, the media will send a phone to the community to go and interview the same people. So now that the government has taken your what are you going to do? Then that person will check in that man and everyone give it back around. You're going to vote against him. What do you want them to do? What do you want them to do? They have no one power. Must he continue to arrest them? So the government will relax. So this is a jojo approach. We must all know that when we are gotten to, it's the last end. If you must not act now or never, because all the food items in our market is poison. They are GMOs. We are eating poultry foods that are poison. The fishes that we are eating now, they are being read in they say fish farm. They are giving them artificial food to go within 2 weeks, and we are happy. I don't know what's happened to us. I don't know what's happened to our conscience. That we have allowed ourselves to be, go so low that we are still discussing our problems. No. We should act now because food is not in abundance for us. Where I come from, there is enough food and fish. There is none there. Plantain. I'm happy around everybody. The last time I was for plantain my village, where we grow all the plantain, I couldn't get some. I got to a in the morning and there was plantain here. So I was like, what is happening? So please, at the end of this conference, the community should be very straight and sound and clear. That will not take action now, or we will prepare to die. Because we are eating poison. We are drinking poison. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We think our last contribution from our brother from the in Nigeria.
Yes, thank you so much, panelists. That was very insightful to us well. As you know, my name is Stephen Sitze from the Nigerian of Nigeria. Sometime last year, we carried out a research work with farmers. They set to tell us about the challenges trying to farm because of climate change, the low rainfall, the harsh weather. Now, we are having this discussion about innovation, sustainable farming. But we are having new innovations like the GMO, and this is a very big deliberation going on. So, in this case where we are talking about healthy living, and with the innovations coming up, should we support the GMO, or should we see how to resolve the climate change where farmers can farm at the city, which is meant to be, or we should look towards the innovative solutions? Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to take a yes, a question? Do we go for GMOs or do we fight to keep the land that we have? Asking you.
I think it's something that is with us for long. It's now that we are even getting to know that we are even consuming certain things. So for me, what our advocates will do is to try as much as we can to localize the seeds that we are having at our various locations, and also using innovations such as stack farming and other things to improve upon the cultivation. Because when you look at the GMO that we are talking of, it's something that is in place. Now, our indigenous farmers cannot boast of the local seeds that they used to have. Currently, I know of only Upper East and that of Upper West that they are in some parts of Bono region that they are still maintaining some of the indigenous seeds, and they have a seed bank that they are still trying their best to preserve some of it. But talk of generally, any other part you go, before the season will begin, the farmers will have to buy the seeds and go in to do their farming. At the end of the day, they can't preserve, they can't save some for seeds. Even when they save it for seeds, next season when they use it, when they sow it, the rate at which those seeds grow, it grows faster. And at the end of the day, nothing comes out of it, or little comes out of it. So, for me, I would say that we just have to manage and see how best we can do. But there's one big thing that, like Mr. Alfred was saying, education is very, very important. Even we, those educated, among ourselves, when we ask what climate change is about, we get little answers from among ourselves. So there's still a lot of work for us to do. And as we are living here, whatever we are getting, we need to share it out with others too. Localization is very, very important. At my end, what we are doing is that we are localizing the context to the understanding of the local folks, so that once we move with that, it's something that will help us a lot. And as the saying goes, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. And God is fast in her music says that one step at a time. That everything that you always wish for begins with a step. And we are on course, because meetings of this sort brings different innovative ideas for us to emulate and replicate to our various locations. So I want to encourage all of us, let's try as much as we can to localize the context to our people.
Thank you very much. Please give us
there's nothing on the point made by my colleague from TV. This reinforces the need to sharpen our focus on farmers, fishers. This calls for a shift from what we call big man journalism. Most often we handle our stories from big men, the president, the vice president, and all that. But meanwhile, the actors are fishers, like farmers. So we need to amplify their voices. We need to articulate their views. We need to advocate on their behalf. And we have the power. It is said that the media are the most powerful entity on earth. So the most powerful weapon on earth is not AK-47 or ballistic missiles. The most powerful weapon on earth is the media. So we should use this power to do the bidding of farmers and fishers who are feeling the brunt of ecological disaster, of what have you, the impact of climate change. So we are living there with some resolve, firm resolve, to use our media space to do a campaign, tenacious and relentless campaign, tenacious campaign on behalf of fishers, on behalf of farmers who are really under pressure because of the negative impact of climate change.
So, on the GMO, a colleague recently wrote an article, Africa is not ready for it yet. Just to add to what he said, even the climate, or let's say the improved seed you have currently, the farmer needs the seed, needs to buy the seed, buy the fertilizer and other inputs, and our farmers are struggling to buy this seed. How much more do you put? So please, we are not there yet because it will cost our farmers. Our farmers are really struggling. That's all of that.
Thank you very much. So let's do that for my panelists. Branch is the Valley Food Technology, and then we heard from Dr. Stephen Yahua and Joseph Mumin, and also Lawrence Champon is here, and then Dr. Afro Money. Thank you very much. We don't really see you again so much. Let me just go back to multi-team to our panel. Thank you.
To our wonderful panel, and for beautiful moderation. We come to today's session close, the end of the session. Also, we're just going to have a quick remark. Yes, sir. The service we just did a closing remark. I wanted to manage Kwame is working.
What can I say? It's been a lecture after a lecture by highly important people, legal luminaries, academic journalists, industry champions, highly revered chiefs, and a very aggressive paparazzi who haven't rested, and an audience that has been glued to whatever is going on, and we can only be very, very, very grateful to you, especially the audience. Without you, our presence here wouldn't be worth it. But we are coming here tomorrow to do it all over again. I know we are tired, but when we sleep, we pray that the Almighty restores our energy so that we'll be able to come and do it all over again. This is the Ghana version. This is the African Region Conference of PAC Policy, Pan-African Center for Climate Policy, in October 17th and 16th and 17th. We have another one in Toronto, Canada. Those who applied through us have already started getting their visas. Last year, I got 10 years multiple entry to Canada. It was just through this conference. Probably I may use it for other things in the future. But last year, I was there for the conference. I spent there 11 days and came back. So if you are here and you are a climate enthusiast, this is not enough for you, and you want to have a repeat dose in Toronto, Canada. Kindly see our people who help you. Most of our speakers have already registered and applied for their visas and are waiting. If you are interested, or you know anybody in the house or elsewhere who is interested, the visas have started coming. So don't hesitate to try. It's important to sometimes travel to see where other places to and meet other people, other experiences. Ghanaians, we talk a lot, but it's about funerals. Let us do this international talk so that we will move away a little from the funeral tourism that we are doing. Let's do international tourism. Let's go and learn, and who knows, there will be serious opportunities that may follow. It's always like that. Thank you so much. But we are not done. Remember, we are coming back tomorrow to do it all over again. God bless you and take you safely to your places. So tomorrow we meet.
Thank you, Lana. Thank you, the chairman of the planning committee of the Environmental Education and Lifelong Learning Conference 2025 by the Pan-African Center for Climate Policy. I want us to leave with 3 words, because it resonates with everything that we have said. And when I say please, I know that you've been indulging me since morning and you are noisy by now, but thank you so much for indulging me. Power. How we all say that? Power. Power. Because I have a couple of talk about the power of the media, the power that goes through power. Responsible. In all of our conversations, when we are talking about land use, land management, our environment, that word should keep coming. Whoever wants to use our resources for selfish, deplorable gains, we will tell them this is not responsible. So responsible. And lastly, impact. Us being here today alone is impact of the hard work that the team has put together, and the impact that we have when we leave here, the ripple effect of that. So impact. Thank you so much. You've been wonderful. Please clap for yourself. Thank you to the Environmental Protection Agency, Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology, the Technical Institutions, UCC, Cape Technical University, here in USC. All the organizations that you all come from, our media house, GPC, Joy News, GTV, ATV, VTV, thank you so much. Remember, please. I did this with you, so thank you so much. I am on this side, and it's been an honor being your MC for today. You see us tomorrow. We'll be here tomorrow. We should come early. Now, come and occupy the front seats. So you come only in the masses, so you'll be spotted by them.